Hello, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and their sisters of CA Final. Welcome to Reading Cafe once again. And today we are going to revise one of the most important chapter of CA Final audit, that is professional ethics, and we are going to revise only a part of this chapter, that is the schedules. And this is the most important or significant part where you can expect maximum number of questions in your CA Final examination. There are two or three other topics as well in this chapter which are important, that I will refer in some other videos, or you can directly refer your textbook and read them. And today I am going to discuss only the schedule, that is the first schedule and second schedule. And before we start, let me clarify you on some points, that this is a revision lecture and mostly suitable for a last day revision. And in case you don't have a fundamental understanding of this chapter, or you are referring to this chapter for the first time in this video, then you should not watch this video right now. Have a fundamental understanding, read by yourself, or watch some thorough video on YouTube, and thereafter refer to this video, because this is a revision lecture. I will not be discussing the topic, I will not be discussing the meaning, I will only discuss the keywords. And with that, let's start. The first schedule, part 1, is professional misconduct in case of CA in practice, because that means all the clauses in this part are only applicable to a CA in practice. And if a CA in practice indulges in following activities, in that case it will be treated as a professional misconduct on his part. So the first clause is allows a person to practice in his name who is not authorized. Allows an unauthorized person to practice in his name, that is a professional misconduct. Clause number 2, sharing fees other than those professionals as mentioned in regulation 53A. The professionals mentioned in regulation 53A, with those professionals a CA in practice can share his fees. But if a CA in practice shares his fees other than those professionals, then it is a professional misconduct. Clause number 3, accepting share of profit other than from those professionals mentioned in regulation 53A. That is, a CA in practice accepts share of profit from a professional who is not mentioned under regulation 53A. In that case, it is also a professional misconduct under part 1 of first schedule. Number 4 is wrong partnership, that is going into a partnership or entering into a partnership to a person who is not eligible under Chartered Accountants Act, and it is also a professional misconduct under clause 4. Clause number 5 is secures his professional work other than from an employee or partner. So you have to CA in practice have to secure his professional work from an employee or from his partners. If he secures his professional work other than from somebody who is an employee or partner, in that case it is a professional misconduct. And clause number 6 is very important, that is solicitation. This is solicitation, which is very important. And solicitation through circular, advertisement, interview, personal communication, or any other mode. That is, a CA in practice should not solicit his clients for his professional work, and if it does, then it is a professional misconduct under clause 6. And clause number 7 is quite related to clause number 6. It is direct advertisement of professional work using any designation other than chartered accountant, other than CA, on the professional document, on the visiting card, etc. However, recognized degrees are permitted to be used. Clause number 8 is accepting an audit without first communicating the predecessor auditor. That means a CA in practice should accept an audit only after getting an NOC or no objection certificate from the predecessor or previous auditor. And in case no communication is made to the predecessor auditor, in that case it is a professional misconduct under clause 8 of part 1 of first schedule. Clause number 9 is accepting appointment without considering section 139 or 141 of Companies Act 2013, which talks about appointment of auditors. We must know, and if an auditor is appointed without considering this section, in that case the CA in practice who is going to appoint it as an auditor will be charged as a professional misconduct under part 1 of first schedule. And clause number 10 is accepting fees as a percentage of profit. That is, a CA in practice should not accept a profit as a fees as a percentage of profit. However, there are certain exceptions which are really important, and you should definitely refer to your textbook to read those exceptions, because in many cases you can expect the questions from the exceptions of this clause number 10. Now clause number 11, that is engages in a business and profession other than that of a chartered accountant. That is, a CA in practice should be engaged in a profession which is only related to the chartered accountants, and in case he is engaged he or she, whosoever may be, if engaged in a profession or business other than chartered accountant, then it is a professional misconduct under part clause 11 of part 1 of first schedule. Clause number 12 is to sign on his behalf. That is, the CA in practice lets somebody sign on his behalf who is not a partner or a practicing chartered accountant, and if he does, in that case it is a professional misconduct. Now coming back to the now going to the part 2, that is professional misconduct in case of members in service, and this is applicable only for those members who are doing job who are not in practice, and there are only two clauses in this part. There is clause number 1 is sharing profit and sharing remuneration of employment, and clause number 2 is accepting or agrees to accept any commission or profits from the professional. That is, a member who is in practice, that is somebody who is doing job, should accept his remuneration of employment and should not share his remuneration of employment, and in case he shares his remuneration of employment, that then he shall be professional misconduct. He shall be liable to a professional misconduct under part 2 of first schedule. And clause number 2 is, if a member in practice who is doing job accepts or agrees to accept any commission or profits from any professionals other than his remuneration or salary, in that case he shall be liable to professional misconduct under part 2 of first schedule. Now part 3, that is professional misconduct generally means these clauses are applicable to CA in practice and CA in service both. That is professional misconduct. There are 3 clauses only. Clause number 1 is not an FCA but acting as an FCA. That is, a chartered accountant who is not a fellow chartered accountant but acting as a fellow chartered accountant, being in service or being in practice, doesn't matter, he shall be liable to professional misconduct under part 3. And I am assuming that you already know what is the difference between a chartered accountant or associate chartered accountant and a fellow chartered accountant. In case you don't know, don't worry, I'll tell you. A chartered accountant who has an post-qualification experience of 5 years, he is a fellow chartered accountant, and somebody who hasn't have a experience of 5 years or have a experience less than 5 years, in that case he is an associate chartered accountant. So in this clause it is being said that if a chartered accountant, not being a fellow chartered accountant but acts as a fellow chartered accountant, then he shall be liable to professional misconduct under part 3 of first schedule. Clause number 2 is does not supply information to ICAI or its bodies. That is, a chartered accountant is not supplying required information to the institute or its bodies. Clause number 3 is false information knowingly. This is knowingly providing false information while inviting professional work or responding to tenders. If a CA in practice or a CA in service provide false information and knowing it to be false while inviting a professional work or responding to tenders, in that case it is a professional misconduct under clause 3 part 3 first schedule. And now part number 4, other misconduct, that is, if a CA, and this is also applicable to CA in practice and CA in service both, there are 2 clauses. First is imprisonment less than equal to 6 months, and second is bringing disrepute to the institute. Now I will go to the second schedule, which is quite significant. And in the second schedule you must know that there are 3 parts, and I will quickly revise the 3 parts. Part 1 is professional misconduct in case of CA in practice, and there are 10 clauses. Clause number 1 is disclosing client's information or breach of confidentiality without permission. If a CA in practice discloses the client information, that is a professional misconduct under clause 1 part 1 of second schedule. Clause number 2 is signing or certifying without examining. If a CA in practice certify or sign any document without proper examination, in that case it is a professional misconduct under clause 2 part 1 of second schedule. Clause 3 part 1, that is vouching prospective financial information, that is the future related information. An auditor or a CA in practice should not vouch the future related information, but if he vouches prospective or future related financial information, then that is a professional misconduct under clause 3 part 1 second schedule. However, there are certain exceptions whereby providing sufficient assumptions, an auditor or a CA in practice can vouch the future information, and those exceptions I have also given a star mark here, and those exceptions are quite important, and you should definitely refer to a textbook to memorize those exceptions, because you can definitely expect some questions from that part, those exceptions. Now coming to the clause number 4, that is expressing opinion even after having a substantial interest. That is, a CA in practice should not express his opinion on any topic where he or she has a substantial interest. But if he does have substantial interest and even after that he provides or expresses opinion, in that case it is a professional misconduct under clause 4 part 1 second schedule. Clause number 5 and clause number 6 is very related and you should definitely read them together. Clause number 5 is fails to disclose material facts, and clause number 6 is fails to report material misstatement. Now clause number 7, that is does not exercise due diligence and gross negligent. You should definitely remind these two keywords, that is not exercising due diligence or being grossly negligent. That is clause 7 part 1 second schedule. Clause number 8, fails to obtain sufficient information. Fails to obtain sufficient information or its exceptions as sufficiently material to negate the expression of an opinion. You should definitely remind this keyword obtain. Fails to obtain sufficient information, clause 8 part 1 second schedule. Now clause 9 part 1 second schedule, that is material departure. Material departure from the generally accepted audit procedure. And clause number 10 is fails to keep client's money. Clause number 10 is fails to keep client's money in a separate account. Now coming to the part 2 of professional misconduct, which is a professional misconduct generally means it is applicable to CA in practice and CA in service both, and there are 4 clauses. Clause number 1 is contravenes the provisions of CA Act or regulation. Any chartered accountant being in practice or being in service, if he or she contravenes the provision of Chartered Accountant Acts or related regulations, he shall be liable to professional misconduct under clause 1 of part 2 of second schedule. Clause number 2 is if any employee discloses confidential information. If a CA in practice discloses any confidential information, then that is a professional misconduct under clause 1 of part 1 of second schedule. However, if any chartered accountant being an employee discloses confidential information, then it is a professional misconduct under clause number 2 part 2 of second schedule. Now coming to the clause number 3, that is knowingly false statement to institute audits body. Any chartered accountant whosoever in practice or in job, if provides false statement to the institute and knowing it to be false, then this is a professional misconduct under clause 3 of second schedule. Clause number 4 is defalcates or embezzles money received in professional capacity. Any money received in professional capacity by CA in practice or CA in service, if he or she defalcates or embezzles the money, in that case this is a professional misconduct under clause 4 of part 2 of second schedule. And last is part number 3, other misconduct. Other misconduct also applies to CA in practice and CA in service both, and there is only one clause, that is clause number 1, that is if a CA in practice or a CA in service, that is if a chartered accountant was in imprisonment for more than 6 months. Imprisonment less than equal to 6 months, in that case it is a other misconduct under clause number 1 of part 4 of first schedule. But imprisonment more than 6 months, that is professional misconduct, other misconduct under clause number 1 part 3 of second schedule. So this is it guys, this is it, and you should definitely listen to this video once or twice or many times that you need, but do have a fundamental understanding, and only after that refer to this video. And this is a quick revision guys, and in case you want to listen to this video at 1.5, please do that. And that's all. Tab tak ke liye bye bye, see you on the next video.